Guys, did you know you are not required to keep people in your life, even family members? When should you let some people go? That's a good question, isn't it? And some people you need to let go. That's what we're going to discuss on today's episode of Resilient Man. And I'm going to share some tips on when to let people go, to include friends, family, girlfriends, and even your wife. So let's get to it. Guys, welcome back to the channel. I've heard it said, hire slow, fire fast. And I agree with that. I really do. There are people in your life or people who come into your life who are toxic. I hate that word, but they're toxic. And if you allow them to stay in your life, they're only going to bring you heartache. They're only going to bring you drama and stress and problems. And I think a lot of men don't realize they can let these people go, and like I mentioned before, even family members. The reason I started Resilient Man is to discuss the challenges that we face as men in our culture, in our society, and in our marriages, and in our relationships, and all these different things. And it can really wear on your resiliency when you have toxic people in your life or have to deal with them on a regular basis. And sometimes there is a point where you have to say, enough is enough. I'm going my own way, and I need to just let you go. So, because they will drag on you. So what I want to do today is I've got some tips I want to share with you. I'm going to discuss friends. I'm going to discuss family. I'm going to discuss if you have a girlfriend. I'm going to discuss or your wife, and tips to maybe help you put things into perspective and you decide whether you might need to let some of these people go. So let's get started here. So let's start with friends, okay? With we men, it doesn't take much for us to be friends. I mean, most of us guys, shit, half the time we can hang out with other men and we barely know their names, and we have a good time and it's all good. And we usually don't have the bullshit catfighting that women have. I mean, man, I talk to my sister, I talk to other women, and I'm just like, God, the shit that goes on between women, men just simply don't do those things. But you do have friends, male friends, who you may want to question whether or not to keep them around, to keep them in your lives. Some of them, for example, do they make an effort? Do they make enough effort in your friendship? So, in other words, are you the one who's always reaching out to them? Are you the one who's always coming to them and planning things to do and hanging out? And in other words, if you don't reach out to them, you don't hear from them. Okay? I think we've all had this friend, numerous friends. I have a few good friends in my life that I can depend on, but the majority are just acquaintances, quite frankly. And it's because what I'm describing here. They don't make the effort. And so you really have to, at some point, ask yourself, should I just let this relationship, this quote unquote friendship, really it's an acquaintance, just let them go. I mean, personally, I've had guy friends who on paper, we should have been best friends on paper because we had a lot of similar interests, grew up in a similar way, listened to the same bands, like to do the same things. But again, the effort was simply not there on their part. And even though, when we hung out, we had fun. It was cool, lots of laughs and hang out and have a good time. But it finally dawned on me that if I didn't make the effort, there was no effort on their part. So I simply had to let them go. If you have friends in your life like that, you might want to think about, putting it into the proper perspective as well. Because do they really value you? Probably not. Probably not. The next type of friend, or the other type of friend, may be the toxic friend. This is the guy who maybe he's got problems with drugs or alcohol, or he's not quite the upstanding guy that you are. His integrity is not there. His character is not there. Maybe he gossips and talks shit about other people all the time. And obviously, if he does it about other people, he's probably doing it. He's probably talking behind your back about you when you're not around. And so these are guys that you really need to cut out. I will share a quick story with you. There was a guy that I hung out with, and we had some good times. We had some laughs. We'd meet for beers. We'd go out to listen to live music. We talked about different things. We had both been divorced, and so we had that in common. We both had kids, so we could discuss that. But I went out to a local bar one night to listen to a band. He was out there. There were other people out there. He and I were talking, catching up for probably about 30 or 45 minutes. Drinking beers, having laughs, having a good time. I excused myself, said, hey man, I'm going to go hit the men's room. I'll be right back. Went to the men's room, come back. I was gone maybe 5 minutes. I come back and he's gone. I didn't see him. And I thought maybe he's, off talking to somebody. Maybe he went out to his truck. I didn't know. I was talking to other people, and about 10 or 15 minutes went by, and I realized he left. He actually left. And you have to understand, me and him were pretty good friends. So this was why it was very odd that he didn't wait and say, hey man, I'm leaving, or text me or anything. So I shot him a text. I said, hey man, did you leave? And he responded back and he says, yeah, I had enough and I left. And I just thought to myself, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, I went to the men's room. I was gone 5 minutes and you couldn't wait 5 minutes for one of your buddies to say, hey man, I think I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to head home. To me, I found it very disrespectful, being a dick, quite frankly, being an asshole. And that really showed me a lot about his character and his integrity. Now, in this specific case, this specific guy, he had done some other things. I think we hung out for about a year total, off and on. And in that year, there were things that I noticed as well. Like, we're supposed to meet at a certain time, and he shows up 45 minutes to an hour late, more than a few times. And, once, twice, okay. If he does it all the time, it's really a sign, I really don't respect you, and I don't respect your time, and different things like that. And there were other things as well. But this was to me, this was the final straw. I found it just an asshole thing to do. And so I after that, I did not respond. I just went on with my night, hung out with other people and had a good time. This was on a Saturday night. He finally texted me on the following Wednesday and said, hey man, is everything okay? I haven't heard from you. And I ignored him, quite frankly. And then he was blowing up my phone the next day going, hey, dude, what's up? You seem like you're upset. So I told him why. And he literally made up some bullshit story of, I had some altercation and I had to leave and blah, blah, blah. Well, there is no possible way he had an altercation in the 5 minutes I was gone to the men's room. So it was bullshit. My point being that that type of person, no character, no integrity, they're toxic, let them go. Moving on. So now let's talk about family. Okay, family can be very tough to let them go because they're family, that they're biologically connected to you. And I can tell you that they can be the worst. They can be the worst. I can tell you that I have been estranged from two of my brothers for almost 10 years now. And it is with good reason. I mean, one of them extremely dysfunctional, criminal, shall we say, that I do not want in my life and would not allow them. I wouldn't allow him in my house without my supervision. Let's put it that way. The other one, a lot of problems emotionally and mentally, and he just can't get it together. And there is a point where you have to say, this is just too toxic and too damaged, and I can't allow it in my life. And both of them did things that I finally said, no, I'm done. I've had other family members where they kind of drift into my life and they drift out of my life. And then you're, where you been? You know, I haven't heard from you or whatever. And it's, you know, it shows you're not a priority to them in their life. I've had situations where in the past where I would go to visit my grandparents and they lived about 2 or 3 hours away in the same town where my cousins and such. And when we were together, everything was great. But if I did not come to town, I didn't hear from them. Again, these were people, I just let them go. You know, they didn't value. If they don't value you, if they don't show you that respect, they're really not in your life anyways, and you need to let them go. Let's talk about your girlfriend. So the question I would ask is, does she know your worth? Does she know your value? Does she really see it? And I want you to really think about this. Are you truly desirable to her? Does she have a burning desire for you? Or are you just the fill-in guy? You're the guy that she keeps around, so she has a man, she has a body, she has someone to take her on dates and be her protector. Are you that guy? Ask yourself honestly, does she really know your worth? And I think you know the answer. You know the answer based on her actions, the effort she puts in, the interest that she shows. Sexually, she'll definitely show it to you. Is she just going through the motions? You know, does she bring peace? Does she bring peace into your life, or does she bring drama and stress? If she brings drama and stress, you're probably just a fill-in guy. You're probably just someone who she keeps around, and she really does not see your worth. She doesn't see your value because, you know, if she did, then she wouldn't do that. So, I mean, I can tell you, I'm just dating myself, but just casually dating right now. And there was a woman who is a friend, and we were going to meet for a drink. Now, in my case, hablo español también, tratando de practicar el español tanto como puedo. I speak Spanish. Also, I try to practice my Spanish as much as I can. This friend of mine, she's from Venezuela, and so we were going to meet for a drink. Just a little Spanish there for you. So we were trying to plan this, and I thought, well, maybe this might be somebody I might actually be interested in too. So I said, let's meet for a drink and hang out, and we can talk. I can practice my Spanish with you and, you know, just get together. Well, it turned out to be an ordeal. We went back and forth literally most of an afternoon. What about this place? Or what about this restaurant? Or what about this bar? And to start, I had suggested to her that we meet at a Mexican restaurant that I knew had a nice little bar where we could sit and have a drink and talk. So we went back and forth, and finally towards the end of the day, she finally shares with me, I don't like Mexican restaurants. And I'm like, what? What difference does it make? A bar is a bar is a bar. Well, she didn't like Mexican restaurants because she felt they were gaudy and tacky with all their decorations and stuff. Now, the reason I'm telling you this story is, who gives a shit? The point was we were going to meet for a drink. We were going to talk. She obviously speaks fluent Spanish, coming from Venezuela. I could practice my Spanish with her. That was the point. But she turned it into this ordeal. And that's what I'm talking about. Does she bring peace or drama or stress? Well, this woman showed me she would be nothing but a pain in the ass. And so that was the end of my interest in her. So does she see your worth? Does your girlfriend see your worth? And does she bring you peace? If she doesn't, why is she still in your life? You need to honestly ask yourself that question. And then lastly, let's talk about your wife, okay? I've been married. I know the drill. Now, first and foremost, I am not telling you to get divorced. That is a personal choice. Personally, if I could go back in time, I never would have got married in the first place. And I would also add, I am not anti-woman. Resilient Man channel is not about hating women or we're anti-woman. No, there's lots of good women. I have wonderful women in my life who are family and friends. And it would be nice to meet someone as a companion as well. Having said that, if divorce or is divorce inevitable in your future? I don't know the answer to that. Maybe you do know the answer to that. Maybe you don't know the answer to that. Only you can answer that question for yourself. I think in many cases, a lot of men maybe subconsciously already realize that's where you're heading. Have you been glorified roommates now for years, or for a long time? Do you sleep in another room? Is your marriage a constant tug of war? There's no sex. Has it become essentially you're going through the motions because you have children, you are legally bound, which are legitimate reasons, by the way. But you do have to ask yourself at some point, do I let this go? Do I let this go? Because there are situations, again, I'm not telling you to divorce, but there are situations where maybe it is better for you to divorce if your marriage is so volatile and there are children involved and they're seeing that dysfunction. Because that dysfunction is what the children are going to bring into the future, into their lives, and into the spouses that they choose. So again, only you can answer that question, but those are the main examples that I would share with you of sometimes you do have to let people go. And I can tell you in every case, I've let people go. I have much more peace and tranquility in my life. I don't have the drama. I don't have the bullshit. And because they will drain you. They will drain you and they will drag you down. So anyways, guys, that's what I've got for today. I hope you are enjoying the content on Resilient Man channel. I hope you would like and subscribe. Comment your thoughts. I love reading your comments. Share your thoughts, especially for the other guys who are dealing with these challenges as well. And know your worth. Protect your peace.